Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So I got a request to make this video today by an individual called Dan, and it's about honest characters in fighting games, or what makes an honest character. So the question reads, Yo Mike, I know you may be busy, but I wanted to ask you about a video idea I've only seen a few people make an actual video on, and that's the concept of an honest character. With this comes with the notion of massive downplay of calling a character honest, like Horang mains do or Kazuya mains. I think it would be a unique topic to dive into, as many people in the community seem to have a different take on what is truly honest in a game where everyone is at their best. In my own opinion, if I have to say an honest character, the closest to this would be Paul or Brian. I think it would be cool to see your take on it and a possible video in the future. So shout out to Dan for the question. I think it's a good question. It's not something that I've really spent too much time thinking about, but I did spend a bit of time putting my thoughts together, and so I think I know what I want to say in this video. I'm kind of going to be spitballing here, so I might get some things wrong or correct myself and pin the comment in the comment section below. But shortly after Dan posted that in my Discord, an argument broke out about honest characters, so I figured whatever way I go about this, people are probably going to come for my neck, which is fine. It's all good. I like chopping it up with you guys in the comment sections below. So I'm going to try and break this down the best way that I can and what makes sense in my head, and obviously you are more than welcome to disagree with me or agree with me or open up a conversation, and as always I will try and get back to you guys. So to start, I think when you're looking at this, you have to start with the systems in the game and how they've been designed to interact with the characters. Let's take Tekken 5 for example. Outside of the walls, Tekken 5 is basically the peeled onion of the modern Tekken games when it comes to mechanics, at the very least. At least when you compare it to 6, 7, Tag 2 and especially 8. And so with less mechanics altering the way the base characters behave, at least in Tekken 5's instance, you get a game where characters are having to utilize their movesets in a more honest manner. Now it's difficult to use honest in a honest way here, but I'm not really sure what other word to use. But I'll try to make sense of this by the time we get to discussing Tekken 8, so just try to stick with me. Now this doesn't automatically make the entire game honest just because it doesn't have an abundance of mechanics that can compensate for a player's weak spots, because not all characters are created equal. From memory, I do feel like most characters were playing modern Tekken in its most honest form when it comes to Tekken 5, but you did have bullshit Unga Bunga moves in that game from your regular offenders. I remember Marduk had some bullshit, Brian Fury had a lot of bullshit, Yoshimitsu, and if memory serves me correctly, Baek Do-san was a bit of a menace. I never enjoyed fighting him, but it's been a long time, I could be off on that. If I had to pick an honest character in Tekken 5, I'd probably go with Kazuya. High execution, pretty streamlined routes to damage. Yeah, he was tough, he was difficult to deal with, he is a Tekken character and he is a Mishima at the end of the day, but I don't really remember feeling cheated when I was fighting him. I don't remember there being a lot of Dark Lord ranks in Tekken 5. If I'm remembering correctly, Dark Lord was one of the highest ranks in Tekken 5, and there weren't a lot of them that were Kazuya mains. He didn't have those fuck you neutral tools, he had a barrier of entry which really required you to work and lock in, and his mix-ups, whilst they were solid, weren't insanely stupid, and of course there was no system that unlocked latent potential and turned him into a Super Saiyan. If we contrast that to Tekken 8, not only is the toolkit of Kazuya astronomically stronger, but when he enters heat he becomes an absolute nightmare to deal with, especially at the wall. And of course in his moveset he has new moves that really do help him pressure you, because that is the name of the game in Tekken 8, and some people could perceive that as being dishonest. You might perceive Jin or Kazuya's forward 2, the demon palms, as being dishonest moves because they are safe, they have decent pushback, at least Jin's one does, and they are heat engagers. And in heat they are also launchers. He didn't really have that in Tekken 5. The heat system and the many mechanics surrounding Tekken 8, whilst they may add a flair to the matches, do not allow for honest play to exist. They just don't. The minute you pop heat, your character's power level goes far beyond 9,000, so I know a lot of people think that their character is honest in Tekken 8, but my friends, stop lying to yourself. Not all BS is created equal, but please make absolutely no mistake about it. You have your own array of BS and you know it. And hey, I am not blind to who I'm using. You guys can see him on the screen. Whilst I have made my arguments against the Feng Wei hate train for many months now, I do not have rose tinted glasses on. Feng Wei hasn't been playing honest Tekken since season 2 of Tekken 7. You look into the eyes of Feng Wei and you know some bullshit's coming your way. So I am not pretending like Feng Wei is an honest character because I'm playing him. I know he's bullshit, but you you know your main is bullshit too. Before we move away from Tekken, I'd just like to look at Tekken 7 very quickly because I think there was an honest character in that game. Maybe there was more than one, but in that game, that character was Jack. I felt like Jack played fundamental Tekken really well, and only very competent players were able to hit the higher ranks with him, partly why he was so rare despite being a very solid character. We saw the extent of his power from players like Anakin, but that was rare. He was often referred to as, if memory serves correctly, the Ryu of the game, and I actually believe that. The sentiment does not extend to Jack in Tekken 8, however, who is full of gimmicks and seems like he's done the fusion dance with Gigas and a Frogger character. Seriously, that weird jumping he does always throws me off. If we take a look at Street Fighter, I'd say your honest character is obviously going to be Ryu. Historically, Ryu is just a hard-hitting, basic karate dude. He doesn't have much in the way of gimmicks, he doesn't really rely on setups, and he has a very limited moveset. Players with strong fundamentals often excel with him because they're good at shutting gimmicky play down and just putting straight hands on people. That doesn't really extend to Kendo, and certainly not Akuma. I don't need to go into Akuma, we all know who he is, we all know what he's about, and we know wherever Akuma shows up he's going to be a menace to society. But Ken is very similar to Ryu, except Ken usually has more normals and more cheeky ways to catch you slipping. Ryu's the kind of character that will break down your defense purely by hitting you and not really using any overwhelming mix-ups, whereas Ken will hit you in 10 different places, fake you out, jump over your head, but then spin in the air and drag you across the screen and do all sorts of weird stuff. He's the flashy Shoto, and with that level of flash comes gimmicks and I guess you could say dishonest play. I'm not even going to bother touching Mortal Kombat. There has never been an honest character in Mortal Kombat, and there likely never will be. That's not really a slight on Mortal Kombat for as much hate as I give the game. That is not me insulting it. It's just known for being a very gimmicky heavy game across the board. Now there's a lot of factors that go into a character when you call them honest or dishonest, but if you want me to be completely honest with you, the entire premise of this argument for it is silly. There's never going to be a fighting game that has completely honest characters, not unless you want to spend your time playing Dive Kick, and that's because matchups exist and most characters are built dramatically differently. Some characters will struggle seriously against others, and some characters will be pretty decent across the board but not necessarily excelling in any one department. Some characters are going to be piss easy and very mash heavy like Victor, and some characters are going to be very execution heavy and have barriers to entry like Heihachi in Tekken 7. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, and the argument usually comes up when players are trying to cope with a loss or rationalize why they're having a hard time. If you're playing a character that you believe to be honest and you can't win, it simply means you aren't good enough for the skill required to play the character and you need to practice more. That or the character's playstyle does not fit yours. If someone says that you're carried because your character's a monster after you've just beaten them, just shrug your shoulders and advise them that maybe they should pick up that character as well, because things are not really working out for them. Nobody forces you to pick these characters. Nobody forces us to play a game that we feel is robbing us. I see a lot of people saying they hate Tekken 8 but still play it, and I'll never really understand that. Do I get talking about it? Sure, there's plenty to discuss. Having debates surrounding it, why not? Debates are always fun, but playing something you hate, that you feel is robbing you, that you feel is dishonest, and essentially using up your time, that makes no sense to me. It's one thing to criticize something you enjoy, and there's another to torture yourself with a product you think is actual shit. Just lock in or check out. I've criticized this game heavily, mainly on its monetization, its DLC, and the ranked mode, and of course heat, but that has been toned down and I'm not that much bothered by it right now, although it can still change. But if you truly hate something, I don't know why you're playing it. Now on the topic of being dishonest in general, I'll use Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi to further my point. I used to play with my friend all the time and he would always use Goku, and it would always boil down to him turning Super Saiyan 3 and me using Majin Vegeta. Now Majin Vegeta in Tenkaichi 3, as far as I'm concerned, at least at the level that I was playing at, was a very dishonest character. And one of the reasons why was that if he did not optimize his combos, if he did not create a situation where he was going to kill me with that combo and I had a % of life left, I could blow myself up. Now usually the final explosion depletes my health down to 1%, but if I already have 1%, my health bar is not going to go down any further. So what I would do to him is I'd back him into a corner if he was unsuccessful in killing me, and then I'd blow myself up. Now this is a core part of the Majin Vegeta character, and so it has to exist in the game, but is it an honest way to win a fight? Not really. It's a kamikaze attack. I know that I'm about to lose. I already have a very strong moveset, and if he was good enough to bring me down to this point, now I have a trump card. Final Explosion is not an honest attack, it is a throw caution to the wind and fuck everything attack. And because of that, I would win many games. I would say that's a dishonest attack. But Tenkaichi 3 and the Dragon Ball games are riddled with dishonest moves, so that's neither here nor there, but you get my point. That's my stance on this whole honest, dishonest thing. Yeah, there's definitely characters you can pinpoint and say that character is really working hard and doesn't benefit from any of the surrounding gimmicks or system mechanics, and there's definitely characters that run you over and need to be discussed, and that's all well and good. Discussions are good, healthy, and only children think you're crying when you're talking about it, but outside of the discussion it should always boil down to this is a game, so there is a way to win, and just figure it out. For as much as I've criticized the design of Dragunov in its current form, I've had to lock in and get better at certain things, and if I'm going to make the most of my time on the game, that is the best thing to do. Find the BS that works for you and out BS your opponent before they BS you into retirement. And if you do have any questions or topics you want me to cover, let me know. I always read the comments. Not all of them will become a video, but if I find them interesting enough, of course I will talk about them. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always guys, take care, have a good day, and peace.